Hi, this is Alan Brochstein of 420 Investor. I wanted to take a few minutes and do a walkthrough of my service. I've been doing this for about 2.5 years now. We've been through some great times, some tough times. Things are getting a little bit more interesting again, and I think it's going to be a great end to 2016. A lot of people probably wondering about 420 Investors, so I am going to give you a tour. So first off, when you're logged into 420 Investor, uh, you come to what's called the activity feed. And everything in the activity feed, everything goes into the activity feed. Anything that's shared on the site, except for the forum, which I'll talk about in a minute. So on the left, when you're logged in, you'll see some different options: forum, blog posts, videos, chat, trading portfolio, resource page, and newsletter. So I'm going to walk you through each of these. So here's the activity feed. So what happens here, if you're a subscriber, and sometimes I don't send these out, sometimes they're just posted to the site, but you can get it either by email, text, or both. And I'll send out usually obviously to both email and text, and then you'll get any sort of alert that I send out. For instance, on Friday night we found out that a Canadian licensed producer received its license from Health Canada. Every weekend, well, every week I do 10 videos. On the weekend, it usually runs about an hour where I'll go through all the names on the focus list. So you'll see that here, and I'll show you how that works later. Each weekend I also do a weekly review, which I'll show you in a few minutes as well. Anytime there's news, so this came out after the close on Friday about Metrum prospectus was available. So whatever's of relevance to 420 investor community, I have a focus list. That's where this type of news gets shared. I'll show you where the rest gets shared. So this is all from Friday, so you can get a sense of how much communication there is during the day. I'd say there's probably 8 to 10 alerts that go out each day. There's another video for the beginning of the day, Friday. So let's go next. We'll just go in order. I want to show you the forum. This is one of the most underappreciated parts of 420 Investor. So the forum has a bunch of different sections to it, and you can go in this way just from the front door basically, and these are the focus list names. I have about 29 right now, so you could just click on one of them if you wanted to find out what the latest is on that. And some of these have just one topic. Some of them, like TerraTech, which is a very popular stock on the site, there's 30 different topics of discussion, but most of them just have one, and that's where all the due diligence goes. And then for probably about 300 other tickers, maybe more than that, you can click to get the forums for those as well. These aren't the ones that I follow as closely, but it's the rest of the space. And there's other ways to find out. If you just want to say, hey, what are people talking about? You click on all discussions, and this will tell you chronologically what the last posts were. And there are probably about 90 topics a week, 80 to 90 different topics a week. And so a lot of the non-focus list stuff makes in here, like BLPG. That's not one that's on my focus list, but somebody had a question, so I answered it there. So I'll show you very quickly what one of these looks like. So here's TerraTech. And I mentioned that there's, oh, I see. I was clicking on it from the wrong place. So this is the last post topic that was posted. So you can see a lot of different members exchange information here. Okay, so that was the forum. So blog posts, what are those? So for the most part, they fall into two categories. Whenever I do some sort of adjustment to my model portfolios, which I'll talk about in a minute, I tend to do a write-up there so that people can get a good understanding. When I do the trade alert, there's a short description of why I'm doing the trade, but and I'll give you an example in just a moment of that. That's one of the typical blog posts. Another one that's typical is that weekly review, and I'll show you that as well. Also, every now and then I'll just have something I want to say that's not really an alert, but it's something I want to share. Like, for instance, if I add a new name to the focus list, I do a write-up on it so people know what's going on. So let's take a look at those. So if you were to click on that button, so the last, it's chronological, and the last one, which would be the weekly review that I just did, would show up, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Well, I'll show you now. So, and then anytime there's a trade alert, Here's the write-up, and I'll show you how that works as well. So typically that's what these are. They're buys, uh, weekly review, but here we added Kush bottles to the focus list. So those are the blogs. I'm going to show you this one first because this is pretty standard and really worth the price of admission for a lot of people just to get this weekly review. It's very in-depth, what happened during the week, um, links to some of the things that resources that we offer, the focus list and the broad list, a Canadian tracker, the index. So I share a graphical depiction of what's been going on in the market year to date over the last 4 years. I talk about the performance of the model portfolios. There's two different model portfolios. So I talk about how they've been performing and what they look like at this time. We maintain a calendar on the site, and so I try to give people a little heads up on things that might be happening during the next week. And then I have a longer term outlook. So that goes out every week. So it allows people to kind of step back and see what's going on. So if we go back to the next page, the next category, oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. So when I do a trade alert, here's a trade that's already been closed. So on April 15th, that was Friday a week ago, I put a trade alert. This is a non-focus list name. I don't really care for this company, but it was a technical setup. I liked it a lot. So I bought it at 4 cents this day. And I explained what the target is, which was 6.2. We exited right near there. It ended up going up to like 8 or 10. And so I take a look at the daily chart. I think this is a 5-minute bar chart. And so that's additional support so that people can decide if they want to do the trade or not. Okay, the next thing is the videos. And so if you click on videos, this is the bottom of the page. And you're going to get a sense that I do a lot of work here. So I do 2 videos a day, although these don't seem to be, I must have had a typo there. I did. Wow, I'll have to fix that. So there's a AM edition that comes out, and then there's a pre-market edition. So the AM edition I usually put out about 11 Eastern time, so it takes into account the first hour and a half or so of trading, hour to hour and a half. And then in the evening, I do a summary so that people are ready to go in the morning. So I do 10 a week. As I said, the weekend one runs about an hour. Recently, these have been running longer, but they tend to be 10 to 15 minutes. More recently, there's been so much activity, they've been running about 20 minutes. So there are other types of videos on the site as well, but I'll spare you that for now. The next section is chat, and we don't use this as much as we used to. It used to be a place where people would go. We have about 400 members now, but when we were over 1,000, people like to hang out in here. So this is where we congregate on Wednesday nights. I spend about an hour each Wednesday night. We usually have, I don't know, about 10% of our members on. I start off with some prepared remarks. So everybody can hear me speaking. I can't hear everybody else. They type and I speak. And we do that for about an hour, and it's really another value-added feature that people enjoy. Okay, so the next one's the trading portfolios. And so let me just preface this by saying the trading portfolios are doing very well. It's my observation that people like to chase performance, so I don't want to really emphasize that. I will say that over time, these two different trading portfolios are very different, but over time, hopefully they'll both make money. The problem has been both of them are long only. I don't advocate shorting stocks, although I'll always say that they should be shorted, but it's very hard for people to short penny stocks, and there's a lot of risk. So I don't officially advocate it, but I sure make it clear that certain stocks are way too high. So the trading portfolios are both long only, which when the market was in decline for 2 years made it kind of tough. One of the trading portfolios is designed to be short-term in nature. It's called Flying High, and that one basically, I set a target and a stop loss. Sometimes they're hard; they're not automatic, and sometimes it's hard to pull the trigger. But that portfolio, well, both of them are up about 60% so far in 2016. I started Flying High in September of 2013, and it's currently worth I think $15,500. So it's up about 55%. It went up a lot in 2014, then pulled back. But the goal on that is really short term. The other trading portfolio is one that I like more. It's a little bit more complex. It's long term in nature, and what I'm trying to do there is beat the market. I have an index that I track every day, and the goal of this portfolio, and there's rules on it, can only have up to 20% cash. Positions are limited to 20%. So the idea is if you want to be in the market, this portfolio is designed to do better than the market. If the market's going down, hopefully it goes down less. If the market's going up, hopefully it goes down up more. So that has been the case. So let me show you the model portfolio. Okay, so I'm cheating here a little bit. You don't get to see what's in the portfolio right now, except for this first one, and I'll show you why. So this is why. So it's actually 15,426 is what it's worth. So it shows it's up 60% year to date. Uh, so what I wanted to show you was, so anybody that logs in can see exactly what percent of the portfolios. This is flying high, the short-term one, and so this one I don't have the 20% limit, but right now there's 8% cash. There's 6 positions. Some of them are at losses, some of them are at gains. Not a lot going on. It also shows when the trade was put on. So they're all relatively fresh except for this one at the bottom. So also when you log on, you can see what the rationale for the trade was. So on this one, AMMJ, adding a 10% position, targeting. So I give a target and a risk. So that's the way that works. You can always click on close trades and see kind of how other trades performed. It has the entry date, but one thing you need to be aware of, if you do 2 trades in the same name, so if you bought March 1st and you bought March 15th, the entry date would still be March 1st. So that can be a little bit tricky. It's the first date. But the P&L is all based on average prices. So anyway, this allows anybody to see. So MarketFi tracks and verifies all this. As a matter of fact, I can maybe even show you. I'll do that. So if you want to create a trade, so the market's not open right now, but you'd put in a symbol, AMMJ, and you can see, well, this isn't really where the bid and the offer are, but that's how, and I have to buy at the offer and sell at the bid, and it works on a live feed. Back to the portfolio. That's probably enough to show. Let me show you the other portfolio though. So this one, we've had some positions for quite some time. This model portfolio launched April 8th, 2014. And going into this year, I probably still had about 6 names that I still had. Now, I didn't just buy them on April 8th, 2014 and hold them the whole time. But what I like to do is called trading around the core. So when the stock's a little ahead of itself, I sell some and buy it back later. So again, you see losses and gains, but this one started at $50,000, April 2014, very close to the high, and it's now worth $18,574, which sounds terrible, and it's not great, but it's really way better than what the market's done. Since then, the market's down, I think 93%, 92%, 93%. So and I'm down 60 something, 63%. So, and I know that sounds terrible. Well, you're only down 63, but you would have 6 times more money if you were following this model portfolio than if you just bought the typical cannabis stock. So again, on this one, it gives you the percentage of cash. What the year-to-date return is, 62.68%. But I share a lot of detail on that during the week. Let's go next to, and close trades here too. So you get the sense, I told you I'd sold like TerraTech, there's one, 112%, but that's not really fair to say because there were losses taken before. So it says the entry date was April 8th, which is true, that's the first time I bought, but the entry price was built over time. This, and some people have questioned me on this. This is an average price. This was not the price on April 8th, so it's kind of tricky. but a lot of losses were realized before that 112% gain was realized because TerraTech was like 70 cents back on April 2014. Okay, so the next thing to talk about is the resource page. And I'm not going to go into this too much, but a lot of times people come to 420 Investor and they've never traded before, they're lost. So we have a lot of information here on getting started and ways to track the market and the universe of stocks. So that's just a place to where people can kind of very quickly find out what they need to know quickly. The last thing I want to show you is the newsletter. So sorry, newsletter. Down here you click it and the newsletter comes up. This is a great feature. If you're not into following the market all the time and just want a monthly update, we do offer the newsletter on a standalone basis. But let me show you how it works. It comes out usually the last day of the month after the close, but sometimes the first day of the month. But you can see I've tended to hit the last day of the month pretty regularly. I work on this all month, and each issue, it tells you before you hit download, it tells you what it's about. So they always have the market review and outlook. Then there's 3 features. So this time I talked about the index changes. I talked about the timeline for GW Pharma's Epidiolex. And then I wrote about Medicine Man Technologies, which is a new stock in the sector. There's also an industry calendar. I give the news on each of the names on the focus list during the month so people can just find out what's going on with those names. And then there's a table, I can show you that in just a minute, with the returns. And then I also share some information on the Canadian cannabis model portfolio. So when you're online, you click and you can see it's a magazine it looks like a magazine. There's the review. There's that first feature article. There's the GW feature article. There's the Medicine Man Technologies article. There's the calendar. Here's all the news on the focus list. And these are the returns. This is for the month of March, so it was a good month. And this is the Canadian model portfolio, which I'm happy to say the Canadian stocks have done a lot better this month. But here's my third model. This is only offered, updates are only offered monthly, not real time like the other one. So at the end of near the end of the day, on the last day of the month, I share this with subscribers, and then I publish it to the newsletter. So these are all the names that are in the that are Canadian licensed producers. I have index. They have different weights. You get a higher weight if you have sales in excess of, I think it's 2 million and a quarter. Once you hit 2 million quarterly sales, then you get double weight. And so this shows the weighting of the model, of the index, sorry. This is the weighting of the model. The returns are calculated, or input, and then the total returns. So in the month of March, the overall index fell 3.2%, and my model went up 4.9%. Year to date, down 16.3 to only down 8.2. This is now positive year to date. So then I give the new model. I give rationale for why. So to the best of my knowledge, this is the only Canadian model portfolio in the world. And that is the end of our tour. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. www.420investor.com. It's you have 2 options. You can pay by the month or get a discount and pay by the year. It's 10 months for the price of 12 months for the price of 10. Thanks for taking the time.